Hi, I'm Carl. Yes, I'm recording in my truck. My house, I'm visiting my family this week. It is crazy loud. So, improvising. Today I'm talking about the eating disorder, binge disorder as my specific, and then obviously introducing anorexia and bulimia. Now, what is exactly binge eating disorder? This is one I have experience with. Without that diagnosis, my therapist did suspect for when I was 15. So some symptoms when it comes to binge eating disorder include eating large amount of foods in a short amount of time, eat when you're super full or you're not hungry at all. But when you're eating in these episodes, you're eating really fast. Like you can get like a plate for Thanksgiving dinner, 5 minutes, sometimes faster. My experience. So and then you get uncomfortable full for how much you're wanting to eat. And again, it's not something you're in control, but it's like something that's like really striking that you have to do that. You're always eating alone, you're eating in secret because you feel guilty or embarrassed that if someone finds you eating that you're gonna be like, oh no. And then another thing that comes with a symptom is that someone's always frequently dieting and not seeing any kind of change. I've experienced that. So how can anorexia, bulimia, and binge eating disorder can all be similar? So with anorexia, the difference from the other two is that it's very, very restrictive. You're not eating. You're fasting majority of the time. A lot of people don't even drink water. From the studies I've gone through, thinking about 8 of them, and then like a bunch of like people who've been diagnosed with the disorder came out with their stories, and a lot of them weren't drinking water. And there's such a bad distortion on your body in your mental state because you feel like I have to keep becoming thinner. Even if you are brittle to the bone and your hair's falling and your teeth are brittle, you still feel like you have to get smaller. Well, with bulimia, you always eat in such a large amount, like binge eating disorder. However, you have to find a way to purge, whether it be overly exercising or vomiting afterwards. Some way to get all that calories out of you as fast as you can, even if it can be very painful, is something that someone with bulimia unfortunately has to deal with. However, and you've already heard my binge disorder, my binge symptoms. With anorexia and bulimia, some similarities between those two is that they weigh themselves repeatedly. So anorexia got cut off, don't know where it ended, I'll just keep going. So when it comes to anorexia and bulimia, some of the similarity they have is that they weigh themselves repeatedly. That's someone with anorexia weighing themselves to keep finding the lower their scale is, the more happier they perceive to be. Their mind perceives to be. However, with bulimia, it's a very similar thing in a lot of like these stories of people coming out, is that they keep weighing themselves, and that's why they're purging, so they can eat all this massive amount of food and then they get right off. And then when it comes to bulimia and binge disorder, one of the biggest similarities, they're eating large quantities of food within like a 2-hour period. They're like eating as fast as they can, but however, with binge eating disorder, unfortunately, they're just keep eating. However, with bulimia, they'll stop at a certain point and then just find a way to purge, usually forced throwing up. And when it comes to anorexia and binge disorder, they are always stressed about their body shape. Anorexia for how thin they are, and then people with binge disorders usually are more worried about how big they perceive to be. That was my case, and then I ended up getting another. That's a whole thing. So when it comes to each of the disorders, when it comes to cultural, social, and gender norms, when like all three, I put them as like just eating disorders in general, because all of them have very similar, if not the same, when it comes to these values. So when it comes to each of the eating disorders, it is found that women are more likely to have an eating disorder like this because of the social and cultural norms of where they live. Like an example, in the U.S., or a lot of women are like looked at as you're only pretty if you're small, which I don't believe in, but it's what a lot of people do. There's so many songs, there's so much media that's like, if you're not small, you're wrong. Like, I think when it was back when Victoria's Secret model started becoming a thing, that's when so many people were freaking out about being a little bit bigger when they were already small to begin with. And that is an example of a social norm and a new cultural norm that women have to be smaller. It's actually in a lot of cultures, like I think it's China, where women have to be small. Like, they have these little like bars or restaurants that if you can fit through these bars when the gaps are, I suck at creating the timer. This should be my last one. But no, as I was saying, from people, like, these restaurants, they have, like, this big, and if you go through it, you can get eat for free or eat for X amount of discount, which is praising being smaller. And a lot of people consider that praising, like, eating disorders like anorexia. However, when it comes to eating disorders, there are so many risks, especially when it comes to mortality. Many people have died from eating disorders. Yes, it's not in the trillions or billions, but so many have. This study that was done in 2022, I'll put it because I didn't write down what it was from. Silly me. So it had done a study with 1,885 participants who have diagnosed eating disorders, and they all are from the ages 8 to 25, which broke my heart when I saw 8. So they had found that 177 of them were diagnosed with anorexia, 906 of them with bulimia, and then 802 with another eating disorder. They said typically it was binge disorder, but they wanted it to 3 categories. So they had found, when it comes to the mortality rate, those who had anorexia had a 4%. 4% of them died. And bulimia, 3.9. And then the other ones, I believe, 5.2%. And that is a really high mortality rate, considering 4% of 177. I believe that's about 20 people. That's a lot for a very small study. They had also found that when it comes to people with bulimia, they are more prone to suicide, which is another mortality risk. I don't know if they included that in like their tally of it. I don't believe so, because they got this information from the National Death Index, and they don't say bulimia cause suicide. They just say bulimia or suicide, which means those percentages could be higher, which breaks my heart. However, that is what I had found when it comes to eating disorders and the mortality of them, their symptoms, especially with binge disorder symptoms. So, thanks for watching.